So, UK fans on the Lewis Nichols show today, you're in for quite a treat because I'm really excited to bring on my next guest. I sent a lot of emails to try and get you, and you kindly agreed, so I'm excited. So let's say hello to Eric Redbeard. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. How are you coping with this kind of lockdown?
Lockdown's going good.
Going
I mean,
good.
you get used to it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to do today was kind of go on a little bit of a journey with you, which is kind of go back to the very beginning in regards to your wrestling career and kind of where your love and your passion actually came from. Is it something that you always watched as a kid growing up?
I mean, I don't know if so much. I mean, I have memories of my dad like going to like his, brother's house, and they would watch like the closed circuit, like wrestling from the 80s. Like, but I was a kid. I don't know. I was off playing in a different room. I know we had wrestling toys, but I don't know how invested I was in wrestling. And I didn't really watch a whole lot till I graduated 2000. So about 98, 99, I started watching with my friends, during high school, kind of got into it then. And then I went to college and was playing football. And another buddy like had the ECW, whatever tapes. So I'd watch those. And then we'd, every once a month, every Sunday, we'd have the, Taco John's, pound and a buck, a bunch of fast food and just watch it on pay-per-view. So like, I remember getting into it then and liking it.
So how did you kind of transition into kind of watching it to actually being in it? So how did that come about? Did you go to a training school? Were you approached? Did someone kind of say, look, you should get into this?
No, it's pretty funny. I was in college, watching it a lot, really into it. Like me and my buddy would screw around in the wrestling room at the college, and I learned how to take my first back bump on the wrestling mat, which is very unforgiving, more so than any wrestling ring. And no one was training me. We were just two kids having fun and playing around. And then we saw wrestling was coming close, like an independent show. And we went to the independent show, and it was really weird. So it was at a bar close to where the university was. And this guy was handing out sheets. He was very carnival-like, this guy. He's like, yeah, you guys want to get in the ring? You guys can have a steel cage match at the end. Let's give us $20. Me and my buddies, we're like, yeah, let's do it. Like my buddy's got the tape somewhere, but let's just screw around in the ring. And I'm sure the people that were at the bar paying for the wrestling were like, what the heck's going on? These untrained people in the ring. But then fast forward a couple of months, I went to another show, and it was another independent show that was a little bit more professionally run, though most independent shows aren't that professional. But I ran into a guy named Eddie Sharkey, and the next year I quit school, and much to my mother's love, who, you don't want your kids quitting school, but I quit school to pursue wrestling at Eddie Sharkey's school.
So what was it about? Obviously, you were just saying that you kind of had that little tryout. You were asked to go into the ring. When you did that, did you get a certain feeling that you just fell in love with it and kind of feel like, I'm gonna do good at this? Because it's not just the wrestling side; you got the performance aspect of it as well.
Oh yeah, it was fun. We didn't know what we were doing, and we shouldn't have been in the ring. It's a big liability, but yeah. After I did that, and I watched another independent show. I think Jerry Lynn was on the show, and I was watching a lot of ECW back then, so it's like cool to see these guys wrestling. And I was like, I saw the big guys that they had, and I was like, I think I can do that. I think I can do that. And I just when I'm dedicated to something, I won't stop until I get what I want.
And I know, like, you worked on the independent scene for years, but you also wrestled in Japan. And I kind of wanted to get your take on what that was like wrestling in Japan, because a lot of wrestlers really seem to get such a buzz from wrestling over there. So what are your kind of thoughts on that?
I was young my first time there. As far as like, I'd started training in 2002, 2003. So I'd been around a little bit, but I wasn't trying to like work as many different independents as I could, so I wasn't improving at the rate I probably should have been. And I got an opportunity to go to Pro Wrestling Noah as quote unquote a young boy, and basically live and train at the dojo while doing tours. And I have mixed feelings. I was the only American there. So 3 months away, I just had a newborn kid who I had to leave with my parents because of a situation beyond my control with the mother. So I was raising a boy by myself. So when I came back from Japan, I had to concentrate back on my son, and I couldn't travel for a living at that point. So as far as like, I wish I would have gone back.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't do it. But I learned a ton when I was out there, and especially about how tough it makes you and how thick-skinned you have to be. Not only are you the only American, you're the only one that speaks English. They don't treat you the best when you're over there because you're in the dojo.
Yeah.
So it's like, yes, you're wrestling on the shows, but before everyone else is like, that's like not a young boy, is they're not in the ring training before every show as well. So we're doing, I remember taking over 100 bumps, back bumps, like a back bump drill, before I wrestled a show.
Yeah, that doesn't sound nice. That sounds pretty horrendous.
But yeah, I mean, it teaches you respect and discipline.
Yeah,
that's for sure. And the Japanese crowd is so respectful, of wrestling. They stay quiet. It's not so vocal. I mean, I really liked it when I was there.
And obviously going to your time in WWE, I kind of wanted to speak to you how that came about. So I know it was kind of the early stages of NXT in Florida. So did they approach you? How did that come about?
So like I said, I was raising my kid. I had a full-time security job with the government, and I was wrestling every weekend. But since I was taking care of my kid, I wasn't traveling to a lot of different places. So I wasn't getting exposure that a lot of the guys were on different kind of level of independence. Usually when you stay in one spot, you kind of die in that spot as far as pro wrestler goes. You don't get any better. You don't, have the different opponents to work to help you improve your craft. So I was wrestling just for fun, and I kind of had given up. I did the extra work, but like they only came around, once a year, and you'd always get the same thing, like, oh, you got a bald head, come back with a full set of hair, or oh, you got a beard, shave the beard, and we'll see how you look. That's like you think how a guy looks with hair or without it, but I think it's just people blowing smoke and I saw, this was back when FCW was going on. They had an FCW recruit page, and where you, instead of sending in a tape, you send in like a bio, and you can send a match in. So, I said, why not? And I sent in the tape and was flown out to Florida for a week-long tryout. While Dr. Tom was one of the people out there, the head trainer. I did a week-long tryout, wrestled a match. I think it was with Jacob Novak. I think he was in the second season of the NXT show. I wrestled. I came back home. A week later, they offered me a contract, and I uprooted my whole life. Took a giant pay cut, and I said, let's give it a shot.
That surprised me to hear that you took a pay cut, because you would assume a lot of us would just think, oh, a big company like that, you signed a contract, you're onto a good kind of financial road. But to hear that it actually wasn't the case is quite surprising. Oh no, I supported a family. Some guys were making as little as $500 a week. Wow. Yeah, and because I had a family, I made like $750
a week, which, you know, to support a family, it's not really a whole lot of money. But took a chance, and, you know, you get paid to train, so.
It's so nice to hear. I mean, it's only been kind of 10 minutes, and it's just nice that everything at the forefront of what you do is being a good father. And I think that's so nice to see that side of you, because we get to see you in the ring doing what you do, which is entertain us all, but to actually see you as the father and that, you know, being the forefront's really nice.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. So going back to your WWE, what was it like for you? Was it kind of a daunting experience being around loads of other superstars? Like, how did you find the process? Was it ever uncomfortable?
I mean, FCW was an island of its own. I mean, that when I got there, the communication between the main roster and the upper heads and the developmental, there was nothing. So it was a strange kind of like La La Land. People would get picked up every now and then to do loops, you know, where they would get like a kind of a look. Other times guys would just be, oh, he's going on the road, he's out of developmental. So everyone just kind of kept doing what they were doing, trying to impress the coaches, and hopefully you get, you know, you impress the right person to get in the ear of somebody that's away from the island to get that, you know, inevitable call up, or you couldn't make it.
Who kind of did you think that you impressed? Was there somebody that you think, yeah, I done kind of good there, and they put in a word for you?
I don't know whether it's impressing or just getting better and showing that you can be coached, because there were different things, you know, like you would try different promos, you know, to try to impress Dusty. You would try different things in the ring, and when we had matches at live events within the developmental system, to try to impress, you know, Tom Pritchard. But as far as in my head, I was like, well, if I impress everybody, hopefully I just stay here and I don't get, you know, let go. And then it got to a point where it's like, well, I'm not making any money, because then you're like, well, you need to get on the road. Well, how do you do it? And luckily they switched over to the NXT show from FCW, and things happened and got put in the way they did. And because I think when I was there, I was doing a Viking gimmick, which I was told would never work, which, looking back now, it's kind of funny. We got a couple Vikings there now. So
Yeah.
but no, the way everything kind of, you know, worked out to get me on the road with the Wyatt family, like it's pretty just kind of strange to me. I don't know how it happened, but all the pieces just kind of to fit, and they kind of, I don't know who thought it was a good idea or who did this. I know I tried some promos, trying different outfits with, you know, Harper and with Wyndham. So like, yeah, I don't know.
When you kind of met the other guys, and because they said, right, you know, you're going to be working with these two, you're going to be called the Wyatt family, did you hit it off with them straight away? Was there a kind of a chemistry between you all?
I remember when they signed Harper, I was just coming back from an ACL injury, and I see another bearded guy, another tall guy. You know, like developmental was still a dog-eat-dog place, kind of. Like everybody had their own competitions. Like, yeah. So when I'm limping in, I see this guy, you know, and you know, obviously, I think he said to me, I gave him a look. So I don't remember doing that, but I think we started off on the wrong foot, and then I know there was some animosity because I snore a lot. So when we were first roomed together, wasn't the best, and just the way we wrestled and stuff like that. I think it kind of clashed at first, but then it became a really good mix.
And with Bray Wyatt, what was he like to work with? Because he obviously comes from a long wrestling background. So what was your relationship like with him? Was he someone that you could learn from at the same time?
Well, it's funny. He's like supposed to be like the father figure, yet me and Harper are way older.
So the roles were reversed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's the younger kid. But as far as learning stuff, like, I don't think I took advantage of trying to learn as much when I was in developmental from those two, and spent more time trying to learn from the coaches. And it wasn't until I got on the main roster and kind of looked around that I started picking everybody's ear and started caring less about what certain, like producers or things would feel, and more how to like learn more from the people that I got to work. Because when we got on the main roster, we worked a lot of people that had a lot more experience. You can be told something, but until you're in the ring and you are around guys that are better, or have more experience, or have a different look, or you're open to learn more from them, even if they are younger, like, that's when you start to grow as a performer.
You just mentioned there, obviously, the main roster as well. So obviously, I guess when you're in NXT, that's the main goal, is to get that kind of step forward onto the main roster. So when they kind of came to you and said, look, we're going to put you on the main roster, what were your thoughts? Because obviously you've worked with one creative team with, what you were doing, to then going into, I assume, a different team.
Yeah, didn't know what to expect. And it took me a few years to even figure out how it ran up there.
It was good though. The fans loved it because you guys were loved in NXT. So a lot of people already knew who you were. And coming in, it was kind of, there was no one like you guys at the time. So you went in there and had a really good reaction from the start. Did you kind of ever feel that you were getting that good reaction?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it was a blast during those runs, especially getting to work a lot of different people, because a lot of guys that aren't on the road anymore, like guys that have retired or moved on to other things. It was a blast to work with those guys too.
And what was it like when you got your first WrestleMania moment? Can you remember how that feels? Because that's kind of everyone's goal, to say that, look, I've wrestled at WrestleMania. So what was it like for you?
Oh, my first moment, believe it or not, was WrestleMania 29.
Really?
Yeah, I was in a morph suit for the Undertaker's entrance.
No, that's so cool.
I was moving my arms like one of those inflatable used car sales lots balloons. But yeah, that was my first WrestleMania moment.
That must, because the Undertaker's entrances at Mania is kind of what makes it. It's a long kind of process, and it's just amazing. You love the music, the energy, get the kind of chills. So to be part of that, actually stood there when he's walking down. What is it like the atmosphere to actually be there?
It was an experience. I mean, you look up and you see the guy, and then yeah, and then eventually, a couple of years later, you'd be in the ring, right next to him, like with him. It's weird to go from looking up and then be like, oh, I'm in the ring with the guy. But yeah, it's cool.
And what's he like to work with? Because obviously you guys worked with the Brothers of Destruction, the Kane and Undertaker. So to actually work with them, both Undertaker and Kane, what are they like as people? Because we're seeing a lot of what he's like as a person on the documentary on the network now. Yeah,
he gives a lot of advice, and if you blow him off, he knows that he won't talk to you.
Right, wow, okay.
But I had a lot more experience on my run up there working with Kane, obviously, because Undertaker wasn't around that much, and I learned nothing but great things about Kane. I've had singles matches with loops, and I've worked him numerous times, and every time I pull him aside and pick his brain about things. So he's definitely professional.
And another moment that I always remember, and I think you probably get asked about it all the time, was obviously WrestleMania against The Rock. So not only did you create a record, I think it was 6 seconds, the match, but to work with one of the best personalities as well in wrestling. You know, the guy can go out there and just talk on that microphone and everyone's gripped. So what was your kind of experience with The Rock like? Because I guess you would have learned the different side of things from him in regards to promo speaking and crowd interaction.
It was cool to see him, what he does, especially in such close proximity. It would have been nice to have a little banter, but
yeah,
that was not the story that day. No, I always have a funny story about that moment. A big reason why I lost in 6 seconds was, you know, I'm new to the business. This is my first one-on-one match at a WrestleMania. You know, there's 4,000, 5,000 people in that crowd. I mean, the largest crowd in history for a wrestling event. And, you know, I'm looking around. I didn't hear the bell ring, you know. So I kind of just throw a wild punch, you know, take a rock bottom, you know. So, you know, did I lose fairly? You know, I mean, as a match, yeah. But you know, I like just say I was new. You know, I was new to it. It wouldn't happen now.
Yeah. It was an experience, and you know, something that people are going to talk about for years to come. It was one of those moments, but it'd probably be a lot different if it was now. That's for sure. Wouldn't be 6 seconds.
No.
What are your thoughts on the Fiend's character? So Bray's character as the Fiend, because I think that's incredible. So what are kind of your thoughts on that?
I mean, I'm obviously a huge fan of split personalities. Like, I love that kind of character. I remember for the longest time I pushed for myself to have a split personality with wearing different masks. I had like 20 different masks. Remember, I did a Talk to Smack once where I tried a split personality character. And next thing I know, we're in the Bludgeon Brothers. But that's a different story. But yes, being such a fan of that sort of thing in horror movies, like it's cool to see them allow somebody to do that.
Is that frustrating for you as a performer when you come up with an idea that you kind of believe in and think, if I have the opportunity to do this, I can showcase who I am, and then you see a similar idea get used by somebody else? Is that frustrating?
I mean, yeah, it's frustrating. Like, no matter what. Like, I mean, everyone has so many different ideas, and they're not being used. The ideas don't get used. You get told what you do. And it's just the unfortunate thing about characters, you know, today. Like, not everyone has the say in their characters. And unfortunately, you can push and try to do what you can. But within the company, I get it's a publicly traded company. So.
Well, what were your thoughts? You just mentioned obviously the Bludgeon Brothers with you and Harper. What were your reaction to that? Did you want to kind of go on your own path with just you? Were you kind of a bit like, I want to do my own thing, or were you happy with the idea?
He was trying to push his own thing, and I was trying to do the split personality, push my. I remember I came out with a bunch of different YouTube videos to try to push kind of a character for them, kind of tailor-made everything for him. And he was pushing to do something separate. And then we just, hey, you guys need to get back together. What are your ideas? Here's what we want you to do. And I remember they brought us to a room and they showed us, we want you to be Demolition. And they showed us like these leather chappy outfits. Yeah, you can imagine our reaction.
Did you challenge stuff like that back? Did you kind of say, look, I'm not doing that? Did you, at that point, after so many years?
I said, how about you look at some of our designs? And I talked to some of my friends that work in design and stuff, and I showed them some stuff which would later become the Bludgeon Brother outfits. But it wouldn't all be. It was kind of like a joint effort, but like they actually, because we brought them actual sketches, they took those sketches and made them their own, which is better than the leather.
Kind of what I liked with you was last year, it felt like the company had belief in you and they were giving you some storylines, which was incredible. And I know for a lot of wrestling fans, it was one of those kind of finally, like, we've waited for this. You know, let him go out there and do what we know he can do. And you were doing some great storylines with Daniel Bryan. You wrestled Roman Reigns, and you were just part of the main show and one, you know, the big star of it. So when you kind of were going through that, did you feel a sense of, finally, I'm actually getting to be me now? I'm getting to have an opportunity to show what I can do.
Oh, of course. I definitely know the first time they gave me a promo, like a long promo, more than a sentence, like the Bludgeons, and I talked, I knew that I had to be as close to me as possible. And what's funny is I started talking, and the next day I get people coming up to me, as far as like people backstage, being like, well, I didn't know you had it in you. It's like, what do you mean you didn't know you had it in you? Like, I'm right here. I've been here the whole time. I've always been able to talk. I'm not a mute, but I played a mute. I played a guy who was quiet. I played a background character for the longest time. So it's funny, we play the character we're given unless you're a certain person. You know what I mean? Unless you're like, not saying push, but if you're a central character, it's no different than you go into a movie set. Like, you have your central characters and you have your background characters. Not everybody can be the central character. I get that. So to finally be a central character and written in it, and to prove that I could be a central character, for me, that meant everything, because that's like, I'm working for this. I want to show them I can do this. And I did. And you can't say I didn't. So,
I mean, with that, it kind of felt, just as an observation point of view, it wasn't long enough. You know, you had this, and the fans had really grown with you. You know, you had so much support, and then they kind of just killed it. You know, it's just kind of one of those moments where you're thinking, why have you given us something that we just started to love and take it away? So what are your kind of thoughts on that? Do you think they could have done a lot more with it? Do you think it was crushed quite early on?
They can always do more with it. Like you said, yes, it was too short. And I think a lot of that was a victim of just, we had the draft coming up. We were switching from SmackDown to networks to Fox. So they didn't have a plan for me going out, because they didn't think I was going to succeed. I know they didn't think I was going to succeed, because I wouldn't have had people come up to me, you know, backstage and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're doing this. And then week after week after week, all of a sudden they're letting me talk. They're letting me do more and more and more. So they were trusting me more and more and more. And then it just stopped when I got put on to Raw.
You just mentioned there, which kind of stood out to me, was you think that they didn't believe that you could do it. Does that not knock your confidence that the people that are writing the show and creating this product didn't have belief in you? Because you went out there and actually proved them that you had it. But at that time, did it kind of just kill your confidence?
I mean, it was a bummer, but to me, like, they were using me, like, up until the end. I was used. So I was always figured in somehow. So I couldn't really be upset. Like, you know, I had the cage thing, whatever that was, like, but it kept me on television, good or bad. It kept me on, and that's always what I say to people. Like, it's good or bad, you try to make the best you can with it. And sometimes you can make good out of it, but sometimes the writing is the writing, and I don't know what happened. I really don't.
I mean, with the cage, I did not expect it to be a spider. I was talking to my friends thinking, why, is it like a Jake the Snake thing? Is it a snake? I just expected it to be something more. I don't know. I just didn't expect it to be the spider. So yeah, every week you came out, I guess it was empty. There's nothing actually in it.
Oh, was there anything in it?
Yeah.
I put stuff in there just in case somebody peeked through.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Well, like, you never know. You never know if something's gonna fall out. So, you know, nobody else told me to do it, but I put stuff in there just in case.
Yeah. What kind of things?
Huh?
What kind of things did you put in?
One week I didn't really have anything, so I took a T-shirt and some duct tape, and I made like a stuffed animal. Like I just did stupid things, so somebody looks through it, they can see some sort of shape. Yeah. I didn't know what was going to be in there.
When they told you, were you kind of a little bit underwhelmed?
Plead the fifth.
I want to go to, obviously, it was something that shocked me, and I know just looking on social media, it shocked the majority of wrestling fans, which was the releases that happened a couple of months ago. And it was I've never known anything like it in regards to the amount of wrestling talent, backstage talent being released. And when I saw your name come up, I didn't understand it, because it was like one of their biggest stars. The crowd absolutely love you. You've just gone on and done this storyline and succeeded with it and showed that you're versatile as a performer, and then you're being released. So when you got that call and found out you were being released, what were your initial thoughts? Because for you, you're a father, and you've already said that security to your family is the main thing. So I guess it's harder for you than some wrestlers that don't have children.
Oh yeah, definitely. But the thing about all this is we did get a message. Like, we have an app that we had, and it had a message from Vince that kind of explained that there's going to be layoffs, there's going to be furloughs, how the whole economy is kind of churning, and they basically have to let people go. And when I heard that, I was like, well, I'm under contract, so I can't be furloughed.
Yeah.
So if they're going to let me go, they're going to let me go. And to me, like, even the last time I was on television, when they killed the spider, like the day after, because of backlash, because I don't know why else they would kill it. It's kind of like, there's no plans for it. So I was just sitting at home. Like, a lot of guys were just sitting at home, and I don't know. Like, you get that initial shock, and then it's like, okay, well, what's next? Because you got to keep going. And like my family, like, they know I got goals and things I want to do, outside of wrestling, as well as still in wrestling. Because I've only, I'm not even 40 yet, so like, I haven't even hit the peak of my career, and I haven't even got to begin to show people like this. These interviews that I do are so beneficial to showing people that, hey, I have a voice. I can speak. Yeah. I'm more than just, some brute in the background on some weekly show, or some guy that, terrorizes people with the cage that are smaller than them. Like, so,
I'm excited to see what's kind of next for you, because over the years of your career, we got to see so many sides of you, and it was all coming together like a jigsaw puzzle. You had the ability to do promos, you had the ability to do a character and connect with the audience, which I think is the most important thing. And I think we just got to see that, and I'm so excited where you run with this now, because you've had this time in lockdown where I assume you've been able to really think about what you want to do.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that's all you got. I'm doing these. It's just think.
What are your thoughts on AEW? Because a lot of underused talent, in my opinion, have gone over there, and they're getting the chance to have that platform. I mean, like, Brodie Lee now, it has gone over there, and it's just amazing to watch. So would you ever consider AEW? Have there been any conversations about that?
I haven't had any conversations. I'm still under a 90-day no compete clause. Yeah. But as far as something like that, yes, that would be awesome to be able to show your talents on a national level, because they do have a contract through TNT, and they get great exposure. They have a lot of really good guys that work there, that know what they're doing, and they're giving kids like chances. So yes, I do watch. I do find it entertaining at points and not entertaining at other points, which every show's like that. You can watch anything on television. There's other guys on the independents that I'd love to work with. There's, they got some big boys over at Impact. They got some big boys over at ROH, and that's not even getting into overseas stuff. But as far as like AEW would go, for me, and I think Brodie would say this as well, we need to stay the hell away from each other.
You'll get put back together pretty soon.
just keep finding each other somehow.
I mean, do you still keep in touch with him? Because obviously you've known each other for years. So do you still kind of talk on the phone now?
Oh yeah, I still
Yeah.
talk to him. So it's amazing. It's like when we were first started out as a dick, and we would ride together. We'd never even talk to each other, and now we talk regularly. So yeah, I'm happy for him too. So he's got some good stuff going on right now.
It'd be great to get you over here in the UK, because when I announced that you were going to be on the show, I had so many messages from people who were kind of hoping that, you know, you'll come over to wrestle in the UK, because we've got some very loud and passionate fans over here.
Yeah,
definitely. We had
any excuse to fly overseas and get myself back over to Norway and Sweden. I always take that. Anything that's close enough to Norway and Sweden for me to get a quick hour flight, I'm there.
You know, it's so good today, because when I kind of was getting you on the show, I didn't know what to expect, and it's nice, like you said, doing these interviews where you get to hear more about you. Like, you know, I didn't realize the family man that you are, and kind of how dedicated and passionate about everything that you do. So it's so nice to actually, for us to get to see this side of you.
Yeah, I pick and choose interviews too. I don't do a lot of them. So you can thank my buddy Ryan Connor for me doing this.
He's brilliant, and we had him on the show because he doesn't like to do interviews, and he was saying how much kind of coming on the show helped his confidence. And then we had him on our podcast last week for a second time, and as a surprise, we organised Heath Slater to be in the call. Them two were sharing travel stories, but then Connor said on the next one he's going to share stories with you because you two travel together, he said.
Oh yeah, we got some good stories.
What was he like to travel with?
Huh? Oh, he's a riot, man. He's a riot.
And he's like you, a family man as well.
Yeah, I'm sure I've forgotten most of our road stories, but I'm sure if I start talking to him, I'll remember quite a few of them.
No, so honestly, thank you so much for agreeing to come on. I really, really appreciate your time, and it's just been great, you know, to get to know you. You know, you've entertained all of us for so many years, and I think this is the chance now where you get to go away, but be you. You know, get to be creative, have an input in exactly what you're doing, what you're saying, and I think that will just be such a nice feeling for you as an athlete and a performer.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, who wouldn't just want to be themselves?
Yeah. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
All right. Thank you, man.
Thank you.